Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
It's officially been 6 months since the Ghost and Molly McGee's final episode aired back in January, and I still miss the show dearly. It especially sucked to find out that there was a whole bunch of really cool stuff planned for season 3 that we'll sadly never get to see because Disney didn't give the show enough support for it to actually succeed. But that doesn't have to be the end of the story. I think that this is exactly the kind of show that could end up growing a cult following and eventually get revived. The whole cast and crew said that they'd love to make more, it's just entirely up to Disney. And yes, there's some other shows that they'd almost certainly look at reviving first, but I actually think that if the popularity is high enough, a Molly McGee revival would be more likely. Alex Hirsch doesn't want to make more Gravity Falls, Dana Terrace wants to do something different, so that rules out the Owl House, and Amphibia is complete, so sure, there could be a spin-off, but it's not like the story was cut short or anything. But that brings us to the biggest narrative problem with the Molly McGee revival. The ending. Because while the show was cut short, they still got to tell the last story they had always wanted to tell. And the ending is such a phenomenal emotional gut punch. It's the most bittersweet, beautiful thing they could have possibly done. How do you bring the show back without undercutting that? Well, I'm going to discuss not only different potential ideas for how this could work, but different formats in which these stories could be presented. I'm going to start with what I think are the least likely options and move towards the ones that I think are more feasible. Option 1. Time skip season 3. A few years in the future, Scratch and potentially Adia die on one of their adventures, with the two of them becoming ghosts. They find their way back to Brighton and Scratch reunites with Molly and the others who are now in high school. This is a popular fanfic option, and I know we can just kill Todd is what Bill and Bob said, but I think there's a couple reasons why this wouldn't be the answer. From a story perspective, I do think this would kind of undercut the ending. I do like the idea that Molly and Scratch would reunite in the future, but it would have to happen pretty soon after the events of the end before we end up in Act Your Age territory. And from a more practical perspective, this is unlikely because I can't really see Disney bringing the show back for another season where they'd have to age up the characters and create all new character models and everything. Option 2. Just set it after the end. Some people have suggested that a potential season 3 could center around Jeff being the titular ghost, since, they never specified which ghost is the Ghost and Molly McGee. The other thing this could do is explore how Molly would deal with not having Scratch around. And of course, there's one season 3 idea in particular that I think would be extra devastating if said after the end. But as much as I love Jeff, and I think this would be a really interesting idea to explore, I think that if they were bringing the show back, they would absolutely want it to be with Molly and Scratch. Option 3. Set it before the end. This is probably the most likely option if they were bringing the show back for a full 3rd season. Not unlike what they did for Phineas and Ferb with Candace Against the Universe. You just set it after Jinx versus the human world and before the end. And they could even still do an epilogue episode or 2 if they wanted. I think this would honestly be the best case scenario. This is what Disney would really want to do if the show was popular enough to pick up for a 3rd season. And honestly, it's not like that many people actually saw the finale anyways. Option 4. Anthology. So, while a 3rd and potentially 4th season set between Jinx versus the human world and the end would be the best case scenario, the show's popularity would have to be really high for Disney to consider doing something like that. I think that before we got that, they would likely want to do a special or a movie first. Now, if they were doing a full-blown decom, they would probably want to go with a larger story for it. But honestly, I'd like to see an anthology special. And an easy framing device would be to do something like Gravity Falls Lost Legends, where it's a handful of shorter stories. Some of these could be reused ideas from the season 3 script, some of them could just be done for this special. And obviously, it doesn't have to be a special at all. It could be a graphic novel, just like Lost Legends. Now, I'm not saying that any of these will happen. In fact, it's likely that none of them will happen. At least, not without a big boost in popularity. Which brings us to option 5, fan content. Why should we wait around for Disney? This show's fan community is so talented and creative, and we have actual scripts and ideas that the crew of the show were working on. The possibilities are endless when it comes to fan-made content based on this show. Fan art, comics, fanzines, heck, we even have fan-made merchandise. And this fandom is so insanely talented and creative, and I can't wait to see what people come up with. I've actually been working on my own fan-made episode of the show since before season 2 even premiered. It's based around the Haunted Mansion, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I was originally planning to have it out in time for Halloween, but I recently decided that we'd push the release date back to Mardi Gras next year. Not only does this give us more time to work on it without having to rush, but also, this is based on Disneyland's New Orleans Square Haunted Mansion, and I figured it would be kind of a bummer to release this during a year when the classic version of the ride never even opened. It's literally only opening for the Halloween and Christmas season as Haunted Mansion Holiday with a virtual queue. Plus, Mardi Gras is my birthday next year, so if that wasn't a sign, I don't know what is.
The world-famous retirement home for ghosts, Gracie Manor?
It's open for tours. We should go visit.
Maybe after another round of beignets.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. I'm good.
So, I think the best thing we can do is continue to spread the love for this wonderful show in whatever way we can. Maybe one day the show will come back in some capacity, but even if it doesn't, we can all keep that Molly McGee spirit alive in our hearts forever. So until next time, thank you for watching my videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends you love them, and go spread a little joy today. Let's unhappify the world.